with sanction pressure, airspace closures, airline bans, and growing military presence. Critics warn that this could be a setup for a larger regime change operation aimed at controlling resources under the guise of anti-narcotics. Reports indicate that 80+ people have died in US-led strikes since late 2025. Calls for accountability have been raised globally, urging independent investigations and adherence to international law. Yet, with few verifiable sources and restricted media access, the true extent of casualties remains unclear, leaving many victims anonymous, families without closure. Is this crackdown a necessary strike against narco-terrorism, or a geopolitical move to seize control of Venezuela's energy resources? Many experts and regional leaders believe the latter. They warn, once military objectives shift from drugs to resources, the cost will be borne by ordinary Venezuelans, economy, freedom, and lives. We must demand transparency. If this is truly about drugs, let evidence be shown, fair trials be held. If it's about resources, global citizens deserve to know the truth. Media must report responsibly, international law must be upheld, and civilians' rights must be protected. Because in the fight for drugs or profits, real human lives hang in the balance. Cartel de los Soles got its name from the sun insignias used by high-ranking Venezuelan military generals. Over decades, it allegedly morphed from whispers of corruption into a powerful network accused of running cocaine routes, money laundering, and colluding with major criminal groups like Tren de Aragua and Sinaloa Cartel. In July 2025, the US Treasury froze assets tied to the cartel. By November, the State Department escalated the designation, a move that opened the door to military action. War crime? Since the designation, the US launched operations in the Caribbean targeting boats suspected of carrying narcotics. On September 2, 2025, a narco boat was struck, killing at least 11 people. US officials claimed it was loaded with drugs. But critics argue those strikes bypass international law, lack transparent evidence, and involve possible extrajudicial killings. Legal scholars question whether a terrorist designation justifies lethal force, especially when civilian casualties are involved. Many Venezuelan officials and analysts assert that the real motive is not drugs, but the country's immense natural resources: oil, gas, gold, iron ore. Venezuela, once oil-rich nation, now plagued by economic collapse and political chaos. In 2025, the US made headlines when it officially designated Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization, accusing it of drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, and global destabilization. With this label came sweeping sanctions, naval strikes, and a surge in military activities in the Caribbean. But many international observers warn this may be more than a crackdown on crime. It could be a strategic play for control over Venezuela's vast oil, gas, and mineral reserves. The relationship between Venezuela and the United States remains one of the most complex and strained bilateral dynamics in the Western Hemisphere. Once grounded in oil-based cooperation, the ties have deteriorated significantly over the past 2 decades, especially under the leadership of the late Hugo Chavez and his successor, Nicolas Maduro. The United States has accused the Venezuelan government of human rights violations, electoral fraud, corruption, and the suppression of democratic institutions. In response, Washington has imposed multiple rounds of economic sanctions targeting Venezuela's oil industry, government officials, and financial institutions. These sanctions have further deepened Venezuela's already crippling economic crisis, marked by hyperinflation, food shortages, mass migration, and the collapse of public services. On the other hand, the Venezuelan government claims that the United States is pursuing regime change through economic warfare and political manipulation. Maduro's administration has aligned more closely with US rivals like Russia, China, and Iran, seeking diplomatic and financial support to bypass Western sanctions. The humanitarian impact of this geopolitical standoff has been devastating for ordinary Venezuelans. with millions fleeing the country in search of stability and safety across Latin America and beyond. Meanwhile, the US continues to support opposition leaders such as Juan Guaidó, who was once recognized as interim president by Washington and dozens of other countries, a move that Maduro and his allies rejected as foreign interference. In recent developments, negotiations between the Venezuelan government and segments of the opposition have been taking place, some mediated by international actors. The Biden administration has shown cautious willingness to ease certain sanctions if credible steps are taken toward democratic reforms and free elections. However, the path remains uncertain, as trust between the parties is low and Venezuela's political system remains heavily controlled by Maduro's loyalists. At the same time, the global oil market's volatility, especially due to conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, has renewed strategic interest in Venezuela's vast oil reserves, prompting some to speculate that Washington may reconsider its long-term strategy. This ongoing geopolitical tension between the US and Venezuela is not merely a bilateral issue. It reflects a larger struggle between competing ideologies, global power realignments, and questions of sovereignty versus humanitarian responsibility. As the world watches closely, the fate of millions continues to hang in the balance. Will diplomacy prevail, or will this standoff deepen into prolonged isolation and suffering?